Hi everyone, Sunita here. This is the third of our interviews in alternative health with leading voices in the UK, and I'm really excited today to be speaking to Dr. Mathew Anchery. Now, Dr. Mathew Anchery, we have been introduced by various other people in the Ayurvedic community in the UK. So as an Ayurvedic practitioner, I am hoping to learn something today from Dr. Mathew. I'm sure we'll all be learning a lot of different things. And what I just wanted to kind of give an overview of Dr. Mathew's career, and also give an overview of actually how Ayurveda is perceived in the UK at the moment. So Dr. Mathew, you came to the UK 4 years ago. You're a qualified Ayurvedic practitioner in India, which is where you've been practicing. And you also consult for Ananda in the Himalayas. You also have a practice in Brighton. And you are a leading voice of Ayurveda in the UK. I mean, really, I have to say, the last few months, while we've been in this interesting place, every time I'm on social media, or I see that you're there giving a fantastic interview. So one of the things about Ayurveda in the UK is that it's still considered very niche compared to the experience in India. What I found myself as a practitioner is that people come to Ayurveda when the drugs don't work, or they've tried everything else, and then somebody recommends Ayurveda to them and they say, well, I haven't given that a go yet, so let me seek out somebody who can help me. And from my perspective, I simply can't believe that we're put on this earth as human beings to be taking a suitcase full of medical drugs. That's very much what started me on my path to learn more about natural health. I had an experience in India in one of the massages, and I resonated so deeply with it. I thought, I don't understand what happened there. I want to learn more. So I started to learn first about Ayurveda through the energetic body, and actually specifically the therapeutic body work. So Dr. Mathew, today you're going to be sharing some practical tools to help our audience, but also really sort of give us an overview about the education system, and just how deep the training is, the knowledge is, and in that sense it can instill confidence in others who may need help, and are interested in going a natural route. So really, just to start, what experience led you to working with Ayurveda?
Yes, namaskar. Thank you very much. Firstly, thank you for inviting me to this platform. My journey to this study of Ayurveda was not that much a very interesting kind of a story. It's sort of like a mix of luck and sort of a chance. I actually studied in my school, in secondary school. I actually studied the language Sanskrit by chance. Again, this is sort of not something I chose. It's something like Latin, very much not in use, but sort of like the technical language behind most Indian philosophies like astrology, astronomy, Ayurveda. All of that is in Sanskrit language. When I finished school and I got the opportunity, I actually went on to studying instrumentation engineering and automation. I went in to start the course, and then I got a letter from the state, Kerala state, where I am from, the state exam controller, saying that there are not enough people who knows Sanskrit language ready to study Ayurveda. So they're sending out letters to see if somebody else who knows the language likes to learn it, because a part of Ayurvedic texts are still in Sanskrit language. You need to know the language. If you don't, you have to study the language while learning to get a better idea of what's the concepts and the theory. So yeah, I took the choice of trying out Ayurveda. Before that, I think my experience with Ayurveda was mostly at home. It's practiced in daily life without being called as a medical science or a treatment method, but it's every day in our home, whether it's the coconut oil applied on the hair, or certain spices used in cooking, or some medicines that the mom in every house creates when somebody is ill first before taking the help of a doctor. So I actually entered into Ayurveda like anybody else, trying to learn a new science, a new concept. And I was really surprised at how much of it is modern science, like we were talking earlier. In the first year, we also have to study anatomy and physiology in quite a good depth. 1.5 years is spent on these two subjects, and we do dissections and all the deep study of this modern concept of human physiology and human structure and function, and then go on to learning more about the ancient texts, the languages, the philosophy, all of that, and then moving on to cleansing and different treatment methods. So the education system is there, the university which guides medical studies in Kerala, where I am from. It's a southern Indian state. The same university governs the modern medicine study as well as Ayurvedic medicine, homeopathy, Siddha, yoga, all of that comes under medical university. And the methods are very similar. The structure is very similar initially, and then we diverge on to more natural methods and plants and details of cleansing, etc. So with that study, you tend to actually gain a better holistic knowledge of how health has to be perceived. And I actually sort of was lucky and thankful for the different opportunities I had to practice with other doctors, senior practitioners who I was able to shadow for a good amount of time in various parts of India, not just in Kerala, and learn the science while it is being practiced. I think I was telling Sunita, that the academic system in UK is actually as good as India, because the depth of the study, the understanding of the theory part of it is actually quite good. I'm quite impressed when I'm speaking to any practitioner who have done courses here. But I think the opportunity to apply it and confidently learn it from different practitioners are quite less. In fact, most of the theory goes unapplied. It's just very few of the herbs and very few of the concepts gets into application, and it's tried again and again, which sort of dilutes the impact of it, even though all of us are learning a lot. But I was fortunate to have opportunity to see it being applied and try it while I was in India. And now I try to sort of bring back as much as possible while I'm practicing here.
Yeah. Now you said some really interesting things there, that the Ayurveda, the deeper you went into it, you can see it's a holistic health system. There, you know, it's in line with medical science. You fully study anatomy and physiology, you fully study biology, and then you go on to study more of the philosophical concepts, you know, the treatment care, which is very much in line with how I have also trained. Now, also in addition to that, you spend a good amount of time in practice, and also looking, I know you also got involved, you know, you get involved with surgical operations. So that opportunity is absolutely, that's less so here in the UK. When you look at Ayurveda as a whole health system, Dr. Mathew, what would you say this approach offers over and above other modalities? Because there are other holistic health systems. So what is completely unique about this?
I think the most important feature I see in Ayurveda is that it's not actually a medical science. It's a way of living. It's a life science. Ayurveda survived majority of these years in since it was sort of started 2000 or 3000 years ago by practices in every households and every small things we do. And I think the key features, what I feel, is mainly three things in Ayurveda. One is Ayurveda helps and supports the system in healing rather than take up the job of actual symptom removal. It's more sort of like supporting. The second, I think the key factor is prevention. I think it's very important in this current era that we are aware of different changes happening in the nature, in the climate, in the food habits, food availabilities, and then see how we can be in sync with these changes and prevent ailments which might occur seasonally or which might occur um, in cyclic manner with age, with different factors. So supporting, preventing, and I think the third less talked about factor, uniqueness, is predictive nature of Ayurveda. Even though Ayurveda is sort of a treatment method and a science that helps people heal, it also gives certain ability to a practitioner to predict what
Mm,
might happen when there is a stressful situation, depending on not like making a sort of a guess. It's based on how your body is at this present moment. We tend to be able to predict what might happen to your system in future, and in some ways who all needs to be protected when there is a certain situation. Like for example, now there is this virus pandemic going on. It's more respiratory in symptoms, so anybody who has a tendency for respiratory ailments, which we tend to understand as a certain imbalance, we can sort of predict that you are already in risk. It doesn't have to be understood in any other way, and that sort of gives you more tools to be aware and protect yourself, which I think in future is a very significant feature of that needs to be utilized in any healthcare system, because while we are spending a lot of money and time on finding out vaccines and all these things, there is also a lot of amount of study going on and effort going on to understand who is more vulnerable and how many people in which age group got affected. And this is also a valid scale which doesn't cost that much. It just looks at certain parameters to find out what are your risk or who are in risk in a particular situation. And these three, I think, makes it really unique: supportive, preventive, as well as predictive science.
do you think so? It would be great to see more people experiencing Ayurveda in the UK, potentially going to see uh, seeing an Ayurvedic doctor or practitioner in the same line that they would see a Western GP in the UK. I think we're some years ahead from seeing that, but this, you're talking about a much more integrative approach. So what do you think Western science can? How do you think we could approach that?
So,
How would you, in your mind, how do you see that integration happening?
yes, it definitely has to be integrated. It's not two opposite science, they're two coexisting methodologies. I think modern science has a very well defined boundary and ability, and I think uh, it goes somewhat wrong if that boundary is sort of exposed somewhere into sort of issues which are not very defined. That's where the modern science struggles, and Ayurveda does well when we understand there are multiple causes, there are different factors involved. So I think the modern system is very good in saving lives.
Mhm.
It's really good in sort of understanding what immediately can be done to save your system from going into a downward trend and stabilize you. But I don't think it is so well equipped to deal with ongoing illnesses like even metabolic issues, diabetes, hypertension. These are all quite common and puts a lot of people into a fragile health situation because they're just addressing the immediate symptoms, and that might be good for short run to keep the body in a stable routine and stable health, but that's not the cure. That's not the solution for the actual cause. So to analyze the cause, find out what kind of responsible changes that you yourself have to make is an important void that is laid exposed. Most people just depend on Google and search things
Yeah,
to find out
yeah.
what they can do. And I think Ayurveda and similar sciences, I think, will come into sort of play there to give a more I call Ayurveda still scientific because it is time tested since 2000 years. It can't exist if it doesn't actually work well. So there is a simple structure. You just have to reinvent and understand it to be practically able to apply it in current sort of lifestyle. It can't be in 2000 years ago how it was done. It has to be modified and applied based on the concepts and principles. And there, that void is being taken care of. That's actually, I think, a recipe for good future. Otherwise, we'll be still stuck with problems and then just reactively approaching it rather
Yeah.
than being proactive and preventive.
Yeah, and this is like you say, this is long term, because actually it's addressing the root cause.
Hmm.
So we're able to really support and clear out what that problem may be. So there isn't a cost then to that reoccurrence later on. Now, you said in India that there's it's wide. You didn't use the word widespread, but I take it that it's accepted. It's an accepted way of looking after health. There are many hospitals, many practitioners. The universities are full with students. So in your own practice, what are there conditions that you've seen it's particularly good for? You're now practicing here in the UK. So
Mhm.
what are people coming to you for?
So mainly, I think, like I said, most issues that come to me are chronic ailments.
Mm.
Some of them, very recently, I'm quite lucky to have people who take proactive steps and try and see that there are some symptoms. I have a history of this particular ailment, so I don't want it to go into that. How can we prevent it? But most people come to me, like you said, once the uh, existing knowledge fails, and
Mm.
then try and see how traditional system can help, which is not the best method. Now, in my practice, most issues that I sort of see is mainly, I think, focus on digestive system, metabolic disorders, not just with the stomach, but all other inflammatory bowel disorders and different sort of bowel related diseases. There are definitely a few with sleep issues, uh, mental health issues. Um, there could be hormonal factors. So something which is chronic, has been going on for some time, how we can address it through a combination of simplified methods of diet changes, activities, herbs which are available in UK, and treatments if necessary to help detoxify and strengthen the system. So a combination of those mostly helps with uh, chronic illnesses. Yeah, it could be autoimmune issues, it could be inflammatory, systemic inflammation, not something localized, symptoms of that. So yeah, there is a good mix of different things.
Yeah, no, it's good, but that's great to hear as well. That it's being looked at very, I think, seriously now with practitioners in the UK. Now, my particular interest is the mind-body connection. It's the
Hmm.
energetic side of our bodies. I've spent many years training therapists in specific bodywork styles, working on the energy points and mapping that out. And what I've found through that as well is that that Ayurveda, the process of Ayurveda, has helped certain individuals I've worked with actually move forward in their lives when they felt particularly blocked. So I just wanted your opinion on, do you think this kind of work can be used to improve life, even to prepare for a better future?
Yes, definitely. I think the most sort of most important aim that I actually start with when somebody comes to me for help with any chronic ailments is to try and understand that this is not the main issue. This is some of the symptoms, and how can we look at the main imbalances and issues and try and fix it. And when we do that, it's a constant communicative procedure where you communicating with the doctor. At the same time, you're also having a better connection with your own body and your own system, your own gut, your own mind. So you learn also from that process, and that's something which I am quite passionate about. Is the treatment goes through different stages, like it goes through a certain discipline and preparation. It goes through certain cleansing or detoxifying methods like fasting or other panchakarma methods to help with achieving certain levels of cleansing, and then symptomatic approach is also there, depending on how much is the intensity or how much depth the actual symptom has. So when we go through these process, I've always seen, and I feel quite proud when somebody learns through that first and second stage, and the next time, say I've been here for like almost 4 years now. So if somebody who's seen me in 2017, like recently writing to me that I have got these particular symptoms now, and I've already started the diet changes, the activities,
Yeah.
I'm doing some fasting, which makes me really, really proud, because I think if I'm able to teach and give some tools to people, which is not based on just an external science, which is based on how your body respond at a particular time, and it's based on your own self, then I would consider that's the biggest achievement that anybody can. I know as an Ayurvedic practitioner, I feel that's the biggest achievement I can reach. And my passion is in teaching. It's not like in a classroom like a lecture, but sort of seeing what sort of life situation a person is going through, how that whole situation itself is contributing towards that particular illness, and see while they are even maybe treating it using symptomatic modern system. It's definitely not that stopping one and starting the other, but what best you can add to it and how you can learn from it to apply it anytime you need or continue to do it. I sometimes see, once I saw someone who I have consulted in India like about 8 9 years ago, and they still remember taking a certain kind of herbal tea, forgot the rest of it, but still keeps taking it after 8 9 years. If that small changes, really makes me happy to see that people sort of absorb it and take that also as a responsibility, because our body is our, we believe in a soul inside us, and the body is the structure or the temple that holds that soul. So you have to sort of respect it, take care of it in that much sort of um, depth and importance, and that's what I try to teach.
And that's it. I mean, that's the level that you're working at. That's the level that Ayurveda is working at. That actually we go right back to Atma, right back to soul, to that pure connection. And you so your approach is very much it's from it's lifestyle medicine, actually, Dr. Mathew, isn't it? You're giving them all the tools and actually helping them walk a path that's much more healthier and much more vibrant.
Yeah.
And you did mention that, that with your knowledge, with your experience, you can enhance recovery also in the sense that you can almost see things in the future. So I just wanted to touch a little bit on that, because we also, when we studied, we spent some time training in Jyotish astrology, also in palmistry. So do you integrate those kind of tools into your practice? Is it necessary?
Unfortunately, I don't integrate those
Mm.
side Ayurveda. My tools are slightly sort of, I think I would say, enhanced with just the use of pulse reading. Other than that, I don't use any other methodologies to do more deeper analysis. Uh, Once we understand the basic principle, um, that we all know, the doshas and the concepts of body balance, it is not that hard, and it's not actually a prediction to um, sort of achieve anything out of it. It's a prediction to keep that balance going on. So it's sort of more like a trend analysis. It's more sort of a risk prevention, where your preventive methods, like I can see a lot of people do healthy supplements and medicines to prevent illnesses which are in trend, whatever is available in the internet, whatever is being in trend at that time, and just continuing to take that without knowing your own body is not the most ideal way. If you know your own body, then you're not following a trend, you're following your own self, which is what I believe is more powerful, and that makes that prediction a little bit more effective, I would say.
You've mentioned a few incidences where you've worked with clients that particularly stand out. Could you are there a couple that you could mention from your practice from the UK that stand out?
Definitely, yeah. So I think 2, 3 different incidences just comes to my mind, and I use this as an example to understand how these communications are made in different signs and and went to a doctor, got a diagnosis, and the consultant usually gives you certain certain time frames. It's not actually a judgment. It's basically some statistics. So you have to understand that. So this person was given 6 months to a year and was suggested different treatments. When he came to me, one very simple thing he mentioned was he already had almost all those symptoms for about 8 to 10 years. He just went into diagnosis now because his wife pushed him to. So he doesn't believe, and I now believe that the issue occurred that moment. It was there, and the body is managing it. So the 6 months to 1 year idea is just a statistics. It's not valid. So we started onto a healthy routine. He, not from my advice, but he decided not to do chemotherapy, just did hormonal treatments, which he was on at that time. I suggested him to continue this and think about the other treatments. And then 3 years, 3.5 years later, it's still fine. He's actually more healthy than he was before. So I think when you hear about a diagnostic name or a particular time frame or an illness, suddenly don't let the mind fall into that spiral of events. Definitely things quite bad. Try and sort of analyze things method. If you can't, definitely take help and take opinions. Um, I've also sort of incidents like recently I saw he's my friend, also a fellow acupuncture practitioner. He's uh, quite is now around 80 years of age, and he's very fond of, before this lockdown, he was very fond of playing golf, and he said he can't see the golf balls, cataract starting stage. But going to a doctor, optometrist, whoever, they don't suggest any treatment because it's not bad enough. So we tried to do some specific medication, some eye drops, which we got from India, because he's keen on to doing whatever he can. And he was getting better at seeing the ball. Unfortunately, due to the lockdown, he's not playing anymore.
Yeah.
But there are some incidences which sort of tells me that even though doctors know exactly what they are doing, some of those numbers are just general idea. It's not true sort of um, truly applicable to you as a person. You have to explore more and truly believe what your system can do to heal and get as much as support possible.
Yeah. So it's you know, it's the positive mindset is so important in the sense of healing the
And then
body.
that worry itself causing.
Yeah. Hello.
Sunita,
Yes, I
did
can
I?
hear you. Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, you're here. Yeah. So positive mindset, you know, also important absolutely for healing the body. I've seen it myself with clients I've worked with, and yeah, the power, the strength that we, because also we change the vibration of our own cells. We change the vibration actually again of our energy, and move ourselves into a more just a more positive place.
Yeah, and I think in Ayurveda there is also this very interesting concept of naming an illness. Like, imagine if there was none of these names, all these different illnesses, if there was just names of symptoms, like somebody has a pain or a ache or a cramp, you go to a doctor and the doctor has to actually look at you from hair till toe to find out what's actually going wrong. All the names, unfortunately, we have in this current medical system is for the doctors
Yeah.
and the practitioners who prescribe medicine or treatments or surgery, etc. The names are not for the patient. The patient always benefits by not having a name, trying and understanding from his or her own personal perspective. And I believe, a name shouldn't be given to an illness unless you have some remedy for it. You
Yeah.
get that privilege to name it if you know a treatment for that illness. If somebody comes to me saying that I have got this particular autoimmune issue or inflammation, I usually first start with saying, don't use that name, because
Yeah.
if you don't have a treatment, a remedy, if you don't understand it, why calling it with that name to just create a picture in your mind that it can't be resolved? Let's sort
Yeah.
of see it fresh.
Yeah. And actually, and that also just is everyone's well-being journey the same? Is it different? What would you say?
So there is a I think an overlying structure in that journey. You will have to go through certain well-established pathways to understand what will your actual eventual journey will be. But I think in effect the experience will be different person to person. The impact will be different. It's not standardized, and it cannot be standardized. To some extent only it can be, but I think there is a structure. It's not very random. If you see a practitioner anywhere, it will be having certain structures based on very well established concepts and theories. But what you experience out of it, for some I've seen that they've after taking treatment, they've actually changed their career, because of having a this mentioning light bulb moments where, okay, I realize now this is actually real. And that's a very different experience compared to, I think, more than half of people I see here in UK don't know how to say Ayurveda.
Yes,
uh,
correct.
m- Most just come to me because somebody has mentioned and is happy to take the diet forward, or the herbs. So the experience will be very, very different, but it's always good. I
Yeah.
see it's always good.
Absolutely. And just, finally, I just wanted to ask your opinion. Well, if you could just talk a little bit about health measures that you would recommend now as we're going through this COVID stage. What would you recommend?
Yeah, so I think this when we are going through this current pandemic, it's very hard to clearly think what is the actual solution or see the bigger picture. The whole focus is on just one virus, which is, if we look at it from a slightly wider perspective, it will be quite ridiculous, because this is by chance. There could be millions of different pathogens roaming around us, and it's much more easier to look at your own self rather than looking at what's outside. But I know it's in this situation we would want something to actually help us. um, I usually say that, uh, if you look at from the current incidences who are being affected more, it's not just the advanced age, it's also people who are having underlying health issues, so health conditions, which are being managed using symptomatic measures. So it's very important to people not to judge their own strength and health by just parameters that are externally analyzed using blood tests, or a blood pressure monitor, but do introspect, look into yourself and try understand what you feel, how your body is able to deal with different stress factors, including a change in diet or exposure to a different climate, pollens, different things. If your body is reacting to it and that reaction is causing stronger symptoms, that puts you in that risk category, even if you don't have a illness or you're symptom free. So be aware of those changes and your ability to resist, your resilience. Be aware of that. We understand in an Ayurvedic point of view, I hope you will agree, it's more sort of a mucousy, kapha related issue. So it is definitely a sort of a good pathway to include certain practices that we know about, our hand hygiene and social distancing. Might be good to add a little bit more deeper level of hygiene practices which are part of Ayurveda, like tongue scraping or oil pulling to just get rid of the excess mucus. It is also good to do sort of an exclusion of certain heavy and mucousy diet, like if somebody feels clogged with having milk products or too many heavy grains or things prepared out of grains like wheat and rice. This is sort of a time you can explore different other grains. It's not just about avoiding milk, avoiding going vegan or going gluten free. It's about trying out something different and trying to sort of see that we don't have to just stock on supermarket things which are available and in trendy. Just try out different things. Try as much as possible to be natural. Try and have lots of warm and digestive herbal teas. It can be as simple as ginger or cumin and fennel, or it can be basil or tulsi. Different sort of herb teas to keep the respiratory tract in good health and good strength. Um, yeah, I think if I keep going, there's a lot more you
So
can
many. I
do.
mean, already
But I
there's
think
so
keep
much
it
there.
simple. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think keep it
yeah,
simple. Start this. Take this opportunity as a as a place from where you will have better connect and better conversation with your own self.
yes,
Try understand where you are standing. Even if it's not Ayurveda can give you tools like doshas. I usually say, we learn about climate like
yes,
spring, summer, autumn, winter. There are clothing and different things according to that comes at every 3 months time. But it's not the same in every country.
no,
Every country has a different weather pattern.
mm,
Similarly, human beings has also different patterns going on in our body. We
mm,
call it by a name, doshas, but
mm,
in effect, there are changes in each one of us, and based on that, the local cuisine and the local lifestyle practices are different in different countries.
mm,
uh, and we also have to understand that we all are different. We have to have a practice that suits our own uh, deha desha, or our own body as a country, as a region which has its own climatic variation and rules which follows our own body system. So that's an important thing which I believe people should explore when they have time and opportunity now.
and now is the time, that's what. And I think, they say, I've seen a few statistics where they've said, these 8 weeks we've been in lockdown, so many more people have taken up cooking with natural ingredients,
Yes.
and so where so many of the things that we recommend from Ayurveda, in the sense of integrate it into your lifestyle, these are all the realizations that that come as you start to have a regular practice.
Yeah, I think human race is only as good as the challenges we have faced.
Mm,
So, if this is a big challenge, it just means that once we come out of it, we'll be bit more better than before,
yeah,
and see it as positive and try and sort of learn things from the experiences. Don't push yourself into sort of, yes, I have to cook, I have to learn,
yeah,
but be mindful of what your body is going through, and might actually give you interesting light bulb moments,
yeah.
which is
Fantastic.
what Ayurveda is about.
Yeah, it's indeed it is in many ways. So, Dr. Mathew, how can our viewers contact you?
Yes, so I practice from my clinic in Port Slade near Brighton. It's called the Circle Holistic Health Clinic. At the moment, we are not practicing from there. Like everybody, we are on
Yeah.
loft at home. So you can reach me through my website. It's ayurdoctor.co.uk. It's AYUR, doctor like doctor.co.uk. And you can read my blogs. My passion is education. So read about it. And if you have questions, or if you want to reach to me, there is email ID and inquiry form and everything in the website, which you can reach me through.
And I just wanted to add as well, so we have our viewers are, it's quite varied. So do you want to just share a little bit about your services? Is it purely your practice that you want to talk about, or your consultancy as well? Please just share what your services are.
So my clinic, which I am practicing, is a multi-modality clinic. We have mainly health through natural means as our main motto. It's a circle of life. It's called the circle. So we have a yoga sort of space where there are different classes, not just yoga, Pilates, different sort of classes, meditations, and there are other practitioners who are focused on acupuncture, osteopathy, different sort of systems. I personally take care of the Ayurvedic part, which is slightly different, I think, from different places here, because we don't do Ayurvedic treatments or massages.
Mm.
in our place. It's purely diet, herbs, and lifestyle changes. Any massages done will be done on your own with
Mhm.
medicated oils that will be prescribed or provided to you. I also sort of, because my passion is on education, I try to sort of uh, take chances like this where
Mhm.
I can speak to people about this science and do sort of lectures and conduct workshops and things like that, which we do there, and in future possibly in cyberspace, I think.
Great.
Um, so
Yeah.
that's what happens in the holistic clinic.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for your time.
It's a pleasure, Sunita, and thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.